Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. My guest today is State Representative Jason Knight. He's a Democrat running for Attorney General in Rhode Island in what is quickly becoming a crowded field. He's currently a lawyer, serves as a state rep for Barrington and Warren. Thanks for coming overseas to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Hey, you got some competition. You've got some competition. Why so many people want to be the Attorney General? Isn't it a thankless job?
It is absolutely not a thankless job. It's probably, it's certainly as important on the ballot next year as the governor's race, given the times we're in and all the awful policies coming from Washington from the Trump administration. So it's on the AG to be that first line of defense for people. It's an open seat. As you know, Peter Nerona is termed out. It attracts people to run, and I say good elections. When you have a lot of candidates in the field, the people have a choice, and that's a good thing.
Doesn't pay that well. I mean, you can make a lot more money as a lawyer in private practice. Is that not a consideration for you? You're willing to take a pay cut?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do public service as a lawyer. Okay. I mean, when I was in high school, I wanted to join the service, so I joined the service. I was in the Navy, and I was in the submarine forces, nuclear power technician. Right. When I got out and ultimately went to law school, the thing I wanted to do was to take that curiosity about the law and put it to use, again, in public service. And that's always what I've strived to do.
Right. A double income in your family, or you'd carry it? It'd be a pay cut. I mean, you can make a lot.
We do all right. We get by.
Okay, good. That's good. You're willing to put public service first, and you can always go back later in life and play catch up. All right. Now, of the field that I've been introduced to so far, or that we know are running, you appear to be the most progressive. Is that a title that you willingly accept? Progressive.
No, I don't like the labels, Gene, and I'll tell you why. Because progressive and liberal and conservative all mean something, different things to different people. I grew up in a red state. I grew up in Idaho. I was born here, and ultimately moved back. But I grew up in Idaho, and back then, conservative meant a whole lot of different things than it does now. It was basically, out of my wallet, out of my bedroom. So I don't like the labels because it changes with every other, any person you're talking to.
Why do people call you progressive then?
Because I've supported common sense policies that are often other candidates who do call themselves progressives attach themselves to. Yeah. Probably the number one is gun safety. When I first got elected to the General Assembly in 2016, I've served 5 terms serving Barrington and Warren. One of my main priorities has been to improve our gun safety legislation, culminating with the passage of the assault weapons ban, which was my bill last summer. Now, a lot of people call that progressive. I just call that common sense.
That has a lot of critics. They went after you. The gun rights people say you went too far, Second Amendment, everything like that. You say what to them? Because you may need to pick up some of their votes, too, depending on how tight this is going to be. Well,
here's the thing, Gene. The AG's job is to look out for Rhode Islanders, look out for the safety. As you know, the bulk of the job is criminal prosecutions of violent crime, and the AG has to be first and foremost for the safety of the people, no questions asked. When it comes to the policy that the General Assembly passed, and it wasn't just me who passed it, it was most of my colleagues came along for the assault weapons ban, and I would say 3 out of 4 Rhode Islanders, according to the latest polling, support it. So clearly, the people of Rhode Island wanted it because it's common sense, right? We want to make Rhode Islanders safer from gun violence. You can't get rid of it, but you can certainly minimize the opportunities. Right. So I'm proud to stand on my record of making those promises to my constituents that's something that I would work on, and then delivering on those results in the General Assembly. And that's the thing that differentiates me from a lot of these other candidates, is I have a record of walking the walk, right? When given a choice, there's political interest on one hand, and there's what you promised your constituents you were going to do. Even when it's hard, I'm the only one with a record of service that shows I'm willing to make those hard decisions and stand by those promises.
All right. Can someone left of center, you reject the term progressive, let's just say left of center, can you be a tough law and order prosecutor? I think both sides want that. We want the bad guys punished.
Sure.
Can you be a tough law and order prosecutor?
Yeah. I started my law career as a prosecutor in the AG's office, standing up for victims' rights in court, going after violent felons, putting them in jail. Later on, I shifted gears. I opened up my own law practice doing criminal defense work. But all of that experience comes down to about 20 years of nearly every day in Rhode Island courts doing the work of criminal law. I know that business, and when I'm Attorney General, you can absolutely guarantee and take it to the bank that I will supervise the criminal division to make sure that they are bringing the cases, that they are following the facts where they lead without fear or favor, and pursuing the interests of justice and protecting Rhode Island.
Let's talk about ICE, timely topic. In Providence, the City Council recently wanted to make it tougher for the police department to cooperate with ICE. They also wanted to make it easier to sue the police department for cooperating. They lopped that off the end of the bill, but they don't want ICE working with the police. Now the mayor tells me that, well, if there's a raid and ICE is grabbing somebody in a triple decker and protesters come up and they're making trouble for ICE, he will put the police in between them, but he absolutely doesn't want them covering them. I imagine if you win this office, you're going to have many news conferences talking about, oh, this task force worked with us on this, and we worked with the U.S. Attorney and the FBI in Boston, and look at all the people we arrested. But will you do that when it comes to ICE? What do you think the role is for law enforcement when it comes to ICE?
Well, Gene, I want to start off by saying that I think that ICE has been co-opted by the Trump administration to produce more photo ops than actual law enforcement since President Trump came into office for the second time. You know, he's looking to make headlines, and headline is what he's making. Those law enforcement officers, certainly they have a job to do because it's important that we have immigration control.
Okay.
But I think that the secret police style tactics that they're engaging in, which make for headlines and they put up, you know, the Trump administration and all his cronies put it up on social media, creates fear in the neighborhood. It makes people more distrustful of law enforcement. It is a bad way to do business. And I would, as the Attorney General, work in conjunction with our other state leaders, the mayors and the General Assembly, to where we can, because as you know, federal law is supreme,
right,
where we can, communicate to ICE that we don't like those style tactics in our state and do what we can to fight back against it. We want to have legitimate and professional law enforcement in our communities, but we want to make sure that people trust the cops.
How would you recommend they do it? They said there's a bad guy on the third floor of the triple decker, I'm going to go get him. And they're going to wear a mask because the protesters want to dox them, want to expose them, put their families in harm's way. Isn't that reasonable?
Well, what's the question? What should they do? What should the mayor tell them to do? What's reasonable?
Well, the question was how would you advise ICE to do their job if you call them secret police? There's a bad guy up on the third floor of triple decker. They have to go get him. Do you have an alternative to going to get him? They put the masks on because they don't want to be doxxed. They don't want their families put in harm's way. And they go and get the bad guy. Is there another way to do that if you're critical of the way they're doing things?
It's important that our law enforcement agencies in the streets, whether they're federal or state or local, can be identified to the locals, so they know when the police are there in their neighborhoods by the appropriate signage on their uniforms.
Well, it says police, it says ICE,
clear and consistent uniforms. Okay. I'd prefer everyone to be in uniform as best they can. I think, you know, listen, at times the police have to do stuff that is unsavory, even when we know they're operating 100% by the book. It's not pretty to look at, right? But they should do everything they can to, you know, I'm not a law enforcement professional. I'm not telling anybody how to do their job who is a law enforcement professional, right? I want to make that clear. I am not a police officer, right? I haven't had those trainings. But I know from being adjacent to law enforcement through you know, the court system all these years and reading the reports and doing these things, talking to police officers from the FBI, from Homeland Security, from the Providence Police, all over the state, that there are ways to do it to ensure public safety, to isolate an offender and bring him in that way.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
That's what I would prefer.
Are they not doing it right? They appear to be going after the bad guy. Several of them go in. They have their vests on. It says ICE. And they go and get them. Is there a better way to do it? If you're going to be critical of them, can you suggest a better way to do it?
I think that they should do things in accordance with the highest ideals of their profession, which means they should minimize the safety risk to the officers. They should minimize the safety risk to the public, and those should be their touchstones while they go out and do their thing. I am talking about, when I talk about the sort of media events that the Trump administration likes to put up on the camera, it's when they're, you know, it's in the other cities where they're having protests and ICE is flagrantly going out and trying to stoke the crowd.
You're talking about when the Homeland Security Secretary joins them, Christy Nome, something like that.
That's not appropriate.
Well, you know, you want to replace Peter Nerona, and he's taken it to a new level in fighting President Trump. Would you continue with all these lawsuits that he files? Sometimes he joins together with other Democrat attorneys general, and they run to a Democrat judge. Here in Rhode Island, it's often Jack McConnell, and they get their way. Is that an abuse? Would you continue that?
I want to be clear and with a correction, respectfully.
Go ahead. No.
Right? There are no Democrat and Republican judges.
Well, that's not what Republicans will tell you.
I know.
Yeah. And you know, by the way, Republicans do the same thing. They'll run to a friendly Republican judge.
And there are politicians out there on both sides who will make that accusation. And in my opinion, as soon as a judge puts on a robe and takes the oath to be impartial, that's what they are. I think they lose the label at that point. Now, I appreciate Peter Nerona's service in protecting Rhode Islanders. Listen, when the president acts unlawfully, he has been right there to stand up and push back against them. It could be, it's 38 lawsuits now that we're on?
38 or 39. It could be one just the other day.
It could be 1,000. When the president acts unlawfully in a way that hurts Rhode Islanders, it's the AG's job to push back.
So you'll continue this if need be. Now, you know, the Supreme Court has said that's fine, go to district court judges, but they have jurisdiction only in their district, no more national injunctions. You agree with this court on that? In other words, we're not going to have a judge in Providence issue a coast-to-coast injunction on an issue, just in the district.
Sure, and they have jurisdiction over when the litigants come to them. Getting rid of the nationwide injunction rule, I actually do agree with that.
Take 30 seconds to just make the pitch. Why do you want to be Attorney General?
Listen, I have a record of public service since going back to when I first went into the Navy. I have served as a prosecutor. I've served in courts as a defense lawyer, standing up for people's rights. For the last 10 years, well, going on the 10th year, I have represented Barrington and Warren in the General Assembly, and I have delivered results. I have passed laws protecting public safety. I have stood up for and protected reproductive rights here in Rhode Island. I was proud to be part of the Reproductive Privacy Act vote and the advocacy behind it. And I've been a huge advocate for gun safety, culminating with the assault weapons ban. Now, listen. The biggest thing that I offer is that I have been there. I have talked to my constituents. I have taken their concerns. I have acted on those concerns. I have a record of integrity and independence. It makes me the best candidate for the job.
We gave you the final word. We'll have you back. Good luck as you progress.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
State Representative Jason Knight.